distracted. All right, let me hit start. All right, so the title of today's discussion is Stop Trying to Be What You Already Are. And then to answer, right, what does it mean to experience deja vu? It mean anything. Deja vu, a dream, a negative circumstance, a thought, a positive circumstance, a positive dream, all that shit, it means nothing. They only mean what you say they mean. Okay? Nothing has meaning until you give it meaning. Nothing has meaning until you give it meaning. And I'm cool. I like One Piece. But I'm not like I'm not gonna go as far as saying this, One Piece is cool. I just don't like the way they draw out the story in One Piece. Right? If you ask me like what's my favorite, I'm gonna say Attack on Titan. The story, the twist, the pacing of it. One Piece, like, goddamn. Half the episode is a recap. Then the dialogue from everybody's perspective. My goodness. My goodness. Right? It's cool though. So here we go. Let me hit live on Instagram. Cool. So what we're going to talk about today is stop trying to be what you already are. Why endless healing can be a polite form of self-rejection. And we're going to talk about this holistically. I gave this discussion maybe 3-4 weeks ago, right? But I really want to get back to this foundational truth that, just me doing some self-reflecting on what we've been talking about. I don't want the primary objective of the message to get lost. The primary objective is that there is absolutely no excuse that you can give me that will derail everything unfolding perfectly for you. So the moment that you have a desire, all you have to do is accept it. Okay? And so then when it comes to the nervous system, then when it comes to all of these other things, the circumstances, my feelings, my thoughts, dreams, bad dreams, deja vu, none of it matters. The only thing that matters is you make a choice that everything is working out. You don't need any more information. You just need a decision, right? You don't need alignment when you are the source. You just need a decision. So we're going to go back to this core foundational truth that you are already everything that you desire to be. The only reason you're not seeing it is because you refuse to accept it. Right? I don't have to feel good to know I'm everything. I don't even have to think positive to know that I'm everything. I just am everything. It's just the truth. There's nothing to do. It is just the truth. All right, so here we go. There is a subtle addiction that hides behind spiritual language, growth culture, and healing work. It rarely looks toxic. It often looks responsible, humble, even enlightened. It sounds like, I am still working on myself. I am not there yet, or I just need to heal this one more layer. Let me put this in perspective, okay? Let me say it like this. I'm still working on myself. Well, you can work on yourself all you want. You're still perfect. Everything is still working out for you perfectly. I'm not there yet. You can feel that way all you want, but you're still perfect. Everything is still working out perfectly for you. I just need to heal this one more layer. That's fine. You're still perfect. It doesn't matter what excuse that you say, you still are it. So we take this thing, right? We'll say, I just don't feel like it. Right? We call it the unholy trinity. The unholy trinity is thoughts, circumstances, and emotions. And we try to bring them into our decision-making process. And we'll say, oh, yeah, you're God. You're all that there is. You're perfect. And we'll say, well, my thoughts don't say it. So we go consult with our thoughts. We'll say, well, the thoughts don't always say it, so I must not be it. Then we go consult with the emotions. We say, well, the emotions aren't just relaxed. They don't say that I am, so I must not be. The circumstances, they don't say. So instead of us making the decision and remembering who we are, it's not even really a decision. It's remembrance. Instead of us just remembering who we are, remembering the truth, we consult with feelings, circumstances, and emotions, and then we wonder why we feel empty. Because these three things can never show you who you are. Never show you who you are. The only person that can decide who you are is you. You're the only one who has the authority to do so. Okay? So the ego loves becoming. Becoming gives it a future. Becoming gives it relevance. Becoming delays rest. As long as you're becoming, you never have to fully arrive in yourself, right? So the quote that we've been talking about a lot is Meister Eckhart. As long as you are on the way, you are not there. That's a guarantee. As long as you are on the way, you're not there, right? You can't be there and on the way at the same time. You can't be. It's impossible. As long as you are on the way, you're not there. So it's that buying into the illusion of on the way when there's nowhere to go. It doesn't matter where you go, you will always end up in this present moment where you're already perfect and whole and complete and prosperity and love and divinity and charismatic, and you're everything right now. You're infinity right now in this moment, no matter how you feel about it, no matter what excuses you try to give, no matter how hard you try to think and say, what about this? There is no what about this that can override the perfection that you are. And I cannot stress this enough. There is no what about the circumstance, what about the feeling, what about the doubt, what about the nervous system, what about the subconscious, what about this, what about the technique, there is no what about that can take away from the perfection that you already are. None. It's impossible. Yes, even the one that you just thought about. Even that one. No, it doesn't count. Okay? You are still absolutely everything. Okay? How easily can the path become a postponement of arrival? To be on the way feels virtuous. It sounds responsible, disciplined, humble, but hidden inside it is the assumption that truth, peace, or wholeness exists somewhere other than here. Truth, peace, wholeness does not exist anywhere but here. As long as life is treated as a journey toward worth, the present moment is disqualified. So the more that I'm trying to make this about getting to my worth, I'm completely disqualifying the present moment. And then I wonder why the present moment feels empty. I wonder why I don't feel enough. When I'm just living in my mind, thinking of the future. Yeah, even the affirmations, even the I am, even that knowing just becomes a way to get something. It's, okay, I decide that I'm perfect and whole so I can get there. It's always about the destination instead of the being. When will you live your life? When will we stop stripping meaning from this beautiful moment, the only moment that you can live in? When will we stop using the present moment as a waiting room for something? Oh yeah, if I know I'm perfect and whole, now I can get this. No, you're just perfect and whole right now. You don't need shit. You already are everything. And the more that you enjoy life and you look around, surrounded by God, you're going to see God kiss you, wink at you, hug you, love on you, all of that, right? Yes, of course you can straighten your spine. You can do all of that, right? We've talked about this before. You can do it, right? You can either decide that you can do it or you can keep asking that same question, but you absolutely can. I feel like you guys act like I don't have a good memory. You can ask that same question. You can continue to try to get more and more validation out there, but validation will never come outside of us. It'll never. The external reality can never tell you who you are. I can never tell you who you are. I can sit here and I can tell you, you God, you're this, you're that. Oh yeah, you're so divine. Doesn't matter. If you don't accept it, doesn't matter, right? I can tell you all the success stories I've seen, all the incredible things y'all have emailed me. You can go on Reddit, you can search all of it. You can see tumors disappearing, people healing chronic conditions. You can see people diagnosed with months to live come back. People that have been missing their specific person for years show up. You can see money show up in the account. You can see debts just wiped clean overnight, millionaires made overnight. It won't matter. You can either be a seeker of information or a doer, right? Even scripture says, right? Be a doer. Be a doer of the word. Don't just deceive yourself. Don't just be a thinker of the word, deceiving yourself. Be a doer of it. Implement this, implement this, implement this, implement this, implement this, okay? So here we go. hidden inside of it, hidden inside postponement, right? Hidden inside the being on the way is the assumption that truth, peace, or wholeness exists somewhere other than here, as long as you treat life like a journey toward worth. The present moment is disqualified. You're always preparing to live, never quite living. One of the messages that stuck out to me, one of the goddesses posted in the Discord, and she was just like, and this is a great learning example. She's basically like, look, I know I missed my SP, and that's fine, right? Of course, there's nothing wrong with missing. So, I've been doing so well in all these other areas of my life. Money is thriving, business is thriving, right? She's in a very sacred profession. She's a doula, right? Very sacred profession. She's like, yeah, all these things are going well, but I just, I really just need somebody to spend it with, right? One thing that I really want to emphasize is fulfillment is not a feeling that you receive from being with someone. Fulfillment is not a feeling that you receive when that person shows up or the money shows up. Right? I want you to think about this. It seems as if everything in our life is just going so well except for this one thing. Okay? Except for this one thing. But the truth is that fulfillment is a state that you inhabit. It's just a knowing that you're everything. And that's a place where people meet you. People meet you in fulfillment. Right? So what is being exposed in this story is I will not be enough until I am validated by something outside of me. It's a quiet statement, but it's there nonetheless. All right. And then there was the judgment of self in there. And I believe one of the statements was, I still miss this person, and I know that sounds desperate. I believe it was like, I know that y'all might find that it's desperate. But you don't know what anybody thought, right? It was just simply an assumption or a judgment of self. And I was just using other people as an excuse to judge myself. How often do we do that just unconsciously? We believe we're walking around and saying that I'm everything, I'm everything, I'm everything. But hey, y'all, look, this is what's going on. And I know this is going to sound desperate. I know y'all will probably judge me. That's just an assumption, right? Knowing that others will judge you is just me judging myself and using them as an excuse to judge myself more. I'm just offsetting the judgment. Instead of me taking ownership of that judgment and say, hey, no, I don't have to judge myself. I'm still perfect. It's fine. Instead of me taking ownership of it, I cast it to someone else, right? It's just little things to catch. This is why I always tell y'all, write when you have these things that you're going through, and why I truly appreciate y'all sharing y'all stories in the Discord is because you can get different perspectives on it. But also, if you just read it back, if you read back your story, you're going to start seeing where you've created identities, where you've created judgments of yourself. Right? You're going to see kind of where you've been waiting for things. And if you just take a look at this from the perspective of if I am God and I have everything already and I need for nothing, and even the desire is just me choosing something, what's the story that I would tell? And is the story that I would tell congruent of this? Is the story that I would tell congruent with this? Right? And what you'll often see is that it's not. But the recognition is the healing. The moment that I recognize it, I'm automatically healed. Automatically, I should get my other phone. I think this phone's about to die. 1 second, y'all. Be right back. Appreciate y'all's patience as always. Right? So when we begin to study ourselves, right? And we begin to study ourselves from an honest, gentle, caring, kind lens, we can see so many kind of hidden details of our story. Right? And that's why sometimes I do like to pull up some story. If y'all give me permission, I will use y'all's. Well, if it's a public comment, I'll just use it without asking permission because it's a public comment. But if it's something in the Discord that y'all want me to make a live about or discuss it, I'll definitely pull up your message. I'll take your name off if you want and just break it down, right? Because there's so much clarity just in looking through our stories. There's so much clarity there. And I know I sometimes I can break y'all shit down to the core, but I don't do it out of any kind of anger. I do it simply to remind you who you are. I do that shit from love, okay? It might not feel like love, but I do it from love because I understand that you're not sending the message because you don't want help, right? You're not sending the message because you don't want help. You're sending the message because you want help, because you want to get some insight into what's going on. Even the critiques of me, I know are cries for help. That's why even the other day we broke down the comment that it was a critique. It was a critique. But really, underneath it all was just a cry for help. You wouldn't have written that long ass message if you did not want what you wanted, and you deserve to get what you want. Okay? You deserve to get what you want. Cool. Now here we go. All right. So let me back up. As long as you're on the way, you're not there, which is the Meister Eckhart quote. As long as you're on the way, you're not there. What Eckhart points to is the end of delay. There is nothing wrong with walking, growing, changing. There's nothing wrong with it. But arrival cannot be scheduled in the future without denying now. So I can do these things, but I want to do those things on their own independent path. I don't want to tie my self-worth to trying to get more understanding. Please, by all means, get more understanding. By all means, seek more knowledge. By all means, try your best, but do not confuse that with who you already are. Okay? Of who you already are. All right, so here we go. The paradox is that the moment you stop insisting you're on the way, you realize you were never behind. You were simply overlooking where you already stood. Meister Eckhart. Meister, M-E-I-S-T-E-R. Okay? Meister Eckhart. He's a mystic. All right? What happens in that recognition? The journey collapses into presence. So when we stop overlooking where we are right now and who we are right now, and we begin to accept the truth of who we are, the journey that we were on, trying to get to the future, it collapses into the present moment, which is the only place that truth has ever been. It's the only place that truth has ever been. The ego prefers progress over presence because presence removes its job. Wholeness would mean there's nothing left to fix, improve, or justify. And the ego survives by convincing you that you're almost acceptable, but not quite. That is the final trick of the quote unquote ego, right? The programmed mind is I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Almost there, but not quite. Okay? Almost there, but not quite. Here we go. So when growth becomes a disguise for self-abandonment, right? So at first, healing is honest. It's necessary. It's life-saving. So to be able to see my flaws, quote unquote flaws, right? Or to see the shortcomings, the blind spots. Of course, it's necessary, right? There are wounds that must be seen, named, felt, and integrated. That's not rejection. So this, what I'm really trying to hint to right here is that I'm not against kind of trauma work or any of that or self-improvement. Okay, we just don't want that path to cross with your worth, with the truth of who you are. Okay, So healing becomes avoidance the moment it postpones intimacy with life. So when you tell yourself, I will live fully after I heal, you've quietly rejected the now. It's another way that I can say that. That doesn't even have anything to do with healing. I just feel like, if that person came into my life, now I could actually enjoy my life. I have all this success, but it's nothing without someone to share it with. Right? What I'm really hinting to underneath it is that I can't live life. This present moment isn't enough. God right here isn't enough. The present moment isn't enough until I get something out there. All right. So when you say I'm not ready yet, without listening for who decided that, you're delaying embodiment. So Gospel of Thomas quotes, right? If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. What is within you is not something to be perfected before expression. It is life itself, seeking movement, voice, form. When this inner truth is denied, postponed, or buried beneath self-improvement and fear, it turns inward. Okay? Energy that was meant to create begins to constrict. Desire that was meant to flow becomes anxiety. The destruction spoken of here isn't punishment from God, but the slow violence of self-denial, the violence of self-denial. To bring forth is to allow what is true to live without negotiation. What is true is that you're already the expression of God. You're already the expression of perfect prosperity, perfect health, perfect peace, perfect harmony, perfect love, perfect abundance. Not after healing, not after certainty, but now. This doesn't mean reckless expression or bypassing wisdom. It means refusing to betray yourself for safety, approval, or timing. What saves you isn't fixing what's within you, but letting it breathe, letting it be. When inner truth is allowed to move, life reorganizes around it naturally. What once felt like pressure becomes purpose. Absolutely beautiful. Okay? Absolutely beautiful. So this saying isn't about fixing what's within you. This whole Gospel of Thomas quote, it's about allowing it to live. It's about allowing yourself to be. Allowing yourself to be. Be and know. So next, the ego loves the role of the student. The ego is very comfortable being the student, the seeker, the one who is learning, integrating, evolving, because students are not expected to rest. Students are not expected to claim authority. Students are allowed to struggle indefinitely. There is social approval in saying you're working on yourself. Oh, it's so socially acceptable. I'm just working on myself. I'm on my healing journey. I'm on my healing journey. I'm on my season of isolation, right? There is very little approval for someone who calmly says, I am whole now. I am whole now, while still being human, emotional, and quote unquote imperfect. There's very little approval for that. Right? I am whole now. No one's ever healed, Alex. I hear you, but that's not who I decide to live by, okay? Or live through. So notice this. The ego never asks, when will this be enough? The soul does, right? So here's a Sufi saying. You've been taught how to fly, but you're still crawling because crawling feels familiar. You have been taught that you are God, but you're still trying to become God because becoming, striving, reaching, trying to become, right? Trying to work through something feels familiar. This is what we've been taught our whole lives, right? We've been taught our whole lives that our self-worth should come from the work we do, right? We've been taught that, okay? So crawling, so let's break down this quote. You've been taught how to fly, but you're still crawling because crawling feels familiar. Crawling is not chosen because it's the truth. Why is it chosen? You know you can fly, you continue to crawl, right? It's not because it's the truth, it's just because it's known. It's the posture the nervous system trusts, even when greater freedom is revealed. Even when greater freedom is revealed, the body hesitates. Flight requires surrendering control, releasing the ground that once felt safe. So we stay low, moving slowly, telling ourselves we're being careful when in truth we're being faithful to an old identity. Flying doesn't mean abandoning humility or denying gravity. It doesn't mean denying gravity. It means trusting what has already been given. God's already given you everything. You already are everything. Okay? When truth is recognized but not lived. When truth is recognized but not lived, it creates tension. You know that. You know the truth, you're already everything, but it's not lived, and you just fiend for something more in your life. Fiend for a little bit more freedom. Just more. Okay? It becomes tension. Knowledge without embodiment becomes restlessness. The invitation here isn't to force yourself into flight, but to notice where you're still choosing familiarity over freedom. The moment you stop mistaking comfort for safety, the ground loosens its hold and what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. Right? It's not about doing more. It's about releasing the illusion that you've ever been anything less. You don't seem to be sure about what you're saying. Nah, that's just you. Has nothing to do with me. All right, so shadow work that never ends is still control. Shadow work was never meant to be infinite. Trauma was never meant to become an identity. Pain was never meant to be proof that you are deep. Do you hear that? Pain was never meant to be proof that you are deep. Right? What? You heard what I said. At some point, shadow work stops revealing truth and starts reinforcing a self-image that says, I am someone with layers that must be managed. That is still a self-concept. Okay? You ain't saying shit. I'm saying words. You're not saying anything either, right? So this is still a self-concept, still a story, still a subtle way of saying I am not allowed to rest yet. But the divine doesn't wait for resolution before it expresses itself, right? That holy trinity, the unholy trinity that we keep talking about, right? The thoughts, the emotions, the circumstances, using those things out there and giving them a seat at the table to vote on who I am, right? I'm prosperity. I made that decision. But now I'm looking out there and what? Because I feel a certain way. See something. A thought pops up. Now I'm not. Okay? Now I'm not. All right? When we give all of those things a seat at the table, and then we wonder why nothing changes. Because we continue to give everybody else a voice. Okay? We continue to give everybody else a voice. All right, so John 1:5 says what? The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Here we go. All right. So metaphysically, this is not describing a battle. Right? We're not talking about a Jedi scene. Okay? We're not talking about a Star Wars movie where the light is fighting the dark. Right? This is exposing a deeper truth. Okay. So this is not describing a battle, but a hierarchy of reality. Darkness is not an opposing force to light. There is only light. There is only the one. There is only source. There's only source, right? Darkness is not an opposing force to light. It is simply the absence of illumination. The light does not wait for the darkness to be resolved, healed, or understood before it shines. Hear that, okay? It shines because that is its nature. In the same way, truth does not depend on the resolution of pain, confusion, or shadow to be present. Consciousness remains intact even when the mind is clouded. There we go. There we go. Truth does not need you to feel good about it. Truth just is. Okay? Truth just is. So this is why healing was never meant to be a prerequisite for wholeness. Darkness cannot overcome light because it has no independent power of its own. It only appears where light is not being recognized. When awareness returns to itself, darkness isn't fought or fixed. It dissolves naturally. Okay? So basically, this verse is just inviting you to remember the truth. Step into your truth. You don't have to fight off the darkness. You have to fight off the feelings of unworthiness or whatever the case may be. You just have to remember the truth of who you are. That truth right there absolutely dissolves the darknesses. The light absolutely illuminates the dark without fail. All right. So this verse invites you to stop postponing your radiance until every shadow is addressed. The light you are doesn't need permission from the darkness to be what it is. Beautiful. Beautiful. The light doesn't wait for the darkness to be fixed. It shines anyway. So, yeah, let's read through these. All right, so here we go. Wholeness feels dangerous to the ego because wholeness removes leverage. If you're whole now, then suffering cannot be used to justify identity. If you're whole now, then delay loses its moral high ground. If you're whole now, then life becomes immediate. I can no longer delay. I can't hide God into the future and say, one day I'll get there and then I'll meet God and then I'll be fulfilled. I must embrace life right now, right? And immediacy, living in the present moment requires courage. It's safer to stay in preparation than to live unguarded. So the moment you stop fixing yourself, you will have to face life directly. This is a Zen quote, a Zen saying. The moment you stop fixing yourself, you're going to have to face life directly. Beautiful, beautiful. That is the real fear beneath endless healing. Becoming is abstract, but being is exposed. Being means feeling what you feel without making it a problem. Being means feeling what you feel without making it a problem. Well, what if I feel bad? You're making it a problem. There is no problem. You just feel bad. It means nothing. What if the circumstance makes me feel this way and I react? You're making it a problem. It means nothing. The feeling means nothing. What about my anxiety? What about my nervous system? What about this? It means nothing. You're making it a problem. You're making it a problem, okay? Being means wanting without turning desire into lack. I want it, but I'm already everything. I don't need shit. I choose from wholeness. I choose from truth. I choose from the identity, right? This is why when we had the discussions on how I would manifest, the first thing we went to was identity. That core identity, that core foundational truth, I'm already everything, right? That is what you build your life upon. If I'm already everything, that takes away need just off of the acceptance of truth. Just my acceptance of truth that I'm already everything takes away need. So now I'm desiring cleanly. I desire it. And now what? I choose it. I desire it. I choose it. I accept it. I'm already whole. It's already me. Boom. Okay? So being means wanting without turning desire into lack. Being means allowing joy without suspicion. Allowing joy without suspicion. I was guilty of this back in the day. Can't get too happy because I just didn't trust my happiness enough. All right? Healing that serves truth eventually dissolves into simplicity. There we go. Healing that serves truth eventually dissolves into simplicity. Not because everything is resolved, but because you stop arguing with your own existence. Ooh, healing that serves truth eventually dissolves into simplicity. if the healing serves truth, it's not going to get more and more complicated and exhausting and tiring to manage your thoughts and manage your feelings and talk about the ego and this and that and you just add more and more complexities and complexities. Healing that serves truth, the remembrance that I'm already everything, which is really the only thing that I ever need to do. I mean, that really, yeah, really, that's the only thing that I ever have to do. I don't have to call shit. I don't have to observe shit. I don't have to do nothing except walk through life knowing that I'm already everything. Therefore, everything that I desire must show up. So healing that serves truth eventually dissolves into simplicity. Not because everything is resolved, because you stop arguing with your own existence. Right? Aren't you tired of arguing with your existence? Aren't you tired of thinking there's a problem with every emotion, every thought, every feeling, every circumstance? My God, isn't that exhausting? What if there's no problems, which there are not? What if there's absolutely no problems? What if everything just is perfect? It might not look like it, but what if everything just is unfolding perfectly? What if there's not a thought to manage? What if there's not a thought to observe? What if there's not an ego holding you back? What if there's not a desire you can't have? What if there's no unfavorable circumstances holding you back? What if it's just all working out fine? Sometimes this shit just looks like what it is. Sometimes it just looks off, but it's still fine. Or if your only job is just to know that it is fine and everything is perfect and it's all working out. What if there's nothing to become? What if even saying that there's something to become is an insult to the God that you already are? What if even asking the questions like, should I do this or should I do that? When you actually remember who you are, it becomes a ridiculous question, because who are you asking that to? When you ask me, should I do this or should I do that? Who are you asking? How can I tell you what you should do when you're God? And so when we actually go to that core of who we are, we're going to start seeing that, a lot of the things that I'm doing, right, I just need to choose it's going to work out. I can cut through all the nonsense. It's one of the big questions I had to address. So when I keep trying to, should I do this and should I do that? And I'm Googling stuff and I'm going to YouTube trying to find a video to address my circumstance. Should I do? Why am I looking for answers from you? Who are you to tell me what I should do when I'm everything? And here was another thing. It didn't matter what anybody told me. I had to accept the truth of who I was. You could tell me 10 times, right? Just decide, choose. If it ain't enough for me, it ain't enough for me, right? There's a freedom in just being, right? There's a freedom in even turning on content and being like, this is cool. And maybe something will trigger me. It'll show me something that, can kind of help me, but I really don't need anything. I'm just already everything. There's nothing more. Like I'm just here because I want to be here. I'm just here because I want to hang out with Alex. Thanks, guys. I appreciate hanging out with y'all too. I'm not here because I need anything from him. He can't tell me anything about me that I don't know. You already know that you're God. That's why you're here. You already know that you're the fullness of God. What more do you need? It's all working out because you are the expression of it. You forgot for a little bit. You forgot for 20, 30, however many years, right? And then once you remembered, you thought that you had to remember in a certain way or feel a certain way. You thought that you still thought, I feel it, but I don't really feel it. I understand it, but I don't really. You still thought it was attached to a feeling. But now we're past that. It's not attached to a feeling. It's just a choice. I die daily, right? It's a choice that I make whenever the need for it comes up. Okay? Cool. How much percent did I got? Oh, we got 5. We got 5%. All right, let me switch real quick. Then I'm going to do this. Matter of fact, I'm just going to read this letter and then Then I'll switch. We'll do questions for about 30 minutes. Cool. Here we go. My love, my love, my love, my love, beloved, beloved, beloved. I'm writing you from the moment you stopped treating yourself like a project, from the breath where you realized you were never meant to be fixed, improved, or completed. I know how long you believed you had to earn rest. How many nights you stayed awake thinking one more insight would finally make you worthy of peace. You were so loyal to becoming that you forgot you already were. I want you to know something that may sting at first. You didn't delay life because you were broken. You delayed life because you were afraid to live without conditions. Becoming felt safer than being. Healing felt nobler than enjoyment. Striving gave you a reason to keep your heart guarded. And still, I loved you through every version of that misunderstanding. Come closer now. Let me tell you the truth. Nothing inside you needs to be resolved before it is allowed to breathe. Your sadness was never a flaw. Your desire was never evidence of lack. Your shadow was never disqualifying. You were not meant to outgrow your humanity in order to touch God. God has been touching you through your humanity this entire time. I see now how subtly you turned self-improvement into self-rejection. How you promised yourself joy later, once you were healed enough, clear enough, safe enough. You thought postponement was wisdom. You didn't realize it was grief disguised as discipline. And still, nothing about that journey was wasted. Even your delay was innocent. Listen to me now, beloved. You don't need to crawl anymore. You don't need to apologize for wanting more while also resting in enough. You're allowed to shine even while parts of you are still learning how to trust the light. Darkness never had the power you gave it. It was only waiting for you to stop dimming yourself out of a loyalty to familiarity. So here's my vow, written without fear. I will no longer confuse growth with absence. I will no longer call endless preparation devotion. I will not delay love, expression, or pleasure until I feel ready. I choose to bring forth what is within me now, imperfectly, tenderly, truthfully, not to prove anything, not to become anything, but because life is asking me to live. Rest with me here, not because everything is solved, but because nothing is missing. You are not on the way. You are the way, and you always have been. Okay? With a love that no longer postpones itself. I am that I am, right? No matter what. No matter what. With your divine ass. Cool. Let me switch phones so we can do some questions. Bingo. Oh. Something went wrong. Try again later.